Hi, I'm Dave Henning with the Fresh Start Podcast, fresh ideas for business and personal growth. And today I'm very excited to have my guest today, Bauman from Heidelberg, Germany. Isn't that where he built a printing press a long time ago, the Heidelberg Press?
Yes, Heidelberger Press. You're correct.
My brother had his own printing company in Ohio years ago, and I remember those humongous Heidelberg presses he had in there. Wow. So we're about to press into this conversation here. You are a strategic communications skills guide, a comedian, and writer. You've published a humorous self-help book. I'm going to have to get that one for sure. You're also a blogger and a short story teller. Your background, and I'll let you tell me about this because you've been in Germany since 2005. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And I came with my second husband after we got our two children from my first marriage into college. Then we moved here to support his elderly parents, and we've been here ever since. Yeah.
Wow. It's a lovely place, I'm sure. I have friends from Germany, and also my friend on the German border up in Switzerland. He's a Californian, but he does tour guides up in the Alps. Can you believe that?
Oh, I can believe it. It really is lovely country here. And I mean, America's amazing too, but it's so easy to travel here. Like I told you, right now we're traveling through Italy, and it's so nice to just have open borders.
You received your Intercultural Communication certification. Wow. So you were an English trainer and now you train communication. How is that journey going for you now? What's that like?
Well, it has been very interesting because, of course, when you say yes to something, then you say no to something else. And I decided that I'm really not sort of a coach. But I do classes and workshops to help people with what I have crafted, which is called Hive, which is honest, innovative, valuable engagement, and learning how to listen and be a better communicator. And I came to this journey because in 2005, I was teaching business English. But what I found is so many people, it's not that they really struggle with language as much as they struggle with being strategic about what they want to say. And that goes for all of us. It doesn't matter if you're a native speaker or non-native speaker. A lot of times we don't know how to craft a communication so that the other person can hear it, as well as being able to listen. Stephen Covey said, seek first to understand and then to be understood.
I love Stephen Covey. He always has said some very inspiring stuff. His books are great as well. So that is very interesting. You made a transition, and let's talk about that a minute. Why in the world did you become a stand-up comedian? You know, I happen to have a passion for that. That's something I've never done. I think I've been a bus driver. Let's see, I've been a janitor. I haven't been a barber yet, and I haven't been a stand-up comedian yet, so I've still got time. I haven't been a fireman yet either, but
oh yeah. Yeah, you still have time. It's amazing. I know people in their 80s who are still doing comedy. I mean, it just has no shelf life. And I came to comedy because I found Toastmasters. So somewhere around 2008, 2009, I found Toastmasters, which is a speech organization.
Oh, yes. And, yeah, I know Toastmasters.
Yeah, you know Toastmasters?
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yes, and I was looking for people to speak English with because I wasn't really connected with the American community. Plus, America was actually leaving Germany So there was a lot of talk about leaving, and they were sort of packing up. And so I found Toastmasters and began, and it really is where I found my voice in, in being able to craft language. And then I decided after 6 years in Toastmasters and serving as president and, being in the club, that I wanted to see where my speaking journey would take me. And so I decided I want to do stand up. I want to become a comedian.
Wow, that's outstanding. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong, B, but my understanding is you do not have to bring your own toast and jam to Toastmasters. Is that right?
Yeah, that's so true. It's such a lively group everywhere I've gone to Toastmasters meetings, and you're welcomed. When you're a Toastmaster, you're welcome to any club to give a speech. And really, even if you're not a member, you're welcome to come and listen and be part of the audience. So it's a great organization. I can't say too much about that. I mean, they're just wonderful. And through my journey in Toastmasters, I decided, what do I have to give the world? What is my, my kernel within me, that creativity within me? And I found that it was with humor. And I see humor as rebellion. And so I love the idea, like I said to you before we started recording, this idea that levity supersedes the law of gravity. And so lightness is really the law, has a higher power to it than gravity. And so it can lift us. If we're down, it can lift us. If we need to get a message to someone else, if we craft it with humor, it's easier for them to understand it. And if people are laughing, then they're learning.
That's right. I heard some statistic that memory retention, and this is not a joke, like I'm wanting to give a joke somewhere along the line here as usual, but my understanding is that humor actually increases memory retention when you're giving an important speech and you're making some important points about life. The other thing that if I recall correctly, there's an ancient book, a very old book. This would be probably written thousands of years ago that says laughter is good medicine. It's in the book of Proverbs, I think, in the Bible. And
exactly.
Yeah. So that's good news for all of us, that it is something important that can add to our health and vitality and lengthen our life. Did you know that I heard that Rodney Dangerfield, the famous stand-up comedian who starred in that silly golf movie with Bill Murray, he was actually a taxi driver in New York City until he was 55 years old before he ever got into comedy. Can you believe that?
Wow. Yeah, all these stories are really, when you dig into people's stories, it's really profound. The fact that you can begin from anywhere and get where you want to be if you stick to it and just believe in yourself. That story is sort of the never-ending story that people have picked themselves up and managed to get from nowhere to where they wanted to be, just with the power of positivity and moving forward.
Absolutely. So if I may ask, B, then where are you using your stand-up comedian skills and talents?
Yeah, it's funny that you say this because what I do normally is I travel. I'm doing stand-up, as we say. So for the past year and a half, it's sort of gone dry because there is some stand-up online. And so I've been doing virtual stand-up. And I've been speaking at women's events and doing humorous motivational speeches, and that's usually how I, sort of work my humor. And then in my book with mental illness, and I decided to help people, because I feel like that's our job, not to judge, but to inspire. And so, that's what I want to do. And that's how I use humor. Now, I decided to write the book, Girl, You Ain't Crazy, because I struggled so with, in my stand-up, it's sort of me talking about being African American in Germany. So when I do speeches for women's groups and things, it's normally sort of crafted around whatever the message or the topic is in the conference. But in my stand-up, I have created a village called a Wild Bach. And in a Wild Bach, they live by forest rules. They just got rid of public stonings because the hippies believed that that New Age stoning was very therapeutic, and so they had to stop them from using the stones in the city. So they banned it. Lake Wobegon.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was one of the most hilarious shows ever on radio. So tell me about Lake Wobegon.
Yes. So I got the idea for my German village a while back from Garrison Killer's Lake Wobegon, like you said, which was a radio series, and then there were some books. And I love the idea of this place that lives halfway between reality and fiction.
Right.
And as an African American in Germany, there's so many culture clashes, and I like to say things like to say, like, I'm a concrete kid. There's so many forests, like I live in the forest here, and I'm a concrete kid. And how I know I'm a concrete kid is because whenever anything would go wrong, my mother would say, "It's your ass fault." Yeah, and I could go on, but I want to just say that as far as speaking, there is going to be a women's conference in September that I'm looking forward to. So I wanted to tell you about that as well. I will be doing a humorous motivational speech there. It's HerStory. It's called HerStory. It takes place in September. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing with humor, trying to find places where I can speak about comedy. I also speak about how to use humor in presentations and how to use humor to enrich your writing and things like that. So I like you said, humor is, we've known that humor is powerful, but I think we're coming back to it because humor is like art. You never think you need it. It always seems like extra until something happens that impacts you. And then you reach for something. If someone dies, maybe you reach for art or a poem, some way to try to process what's happening to you, and has it ever happened to anyone else? And it's the same with humor. When we go too far down in depression or we're looking for some sort of way to lighten up, to just lighten the mood, and then we're looking for humor. The talk is going to be, it's called HerStory Women's Global Empowerment Conference. So the HerStory Women's Global Empowerment Conference. And that's September 21st is when I'll actually be speaking at this it's a virtual conference.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. If you are comfortable, you mentioned that you had some challenges with, like a lot of us have, with mental health. And can you just share briefly a little bit about how that impacted you? And obviously, as you've already stated, that humor really was a great help for you to come out on the other side of that. So what happened? Mm-hmm.
What happened is it's like an origin story, because when I was born, my mother had a nervous breakdown. And my mother had 8 children. I was the last of the 8. And these children went into foster care. And so I did not meet my mother. I did not meet my mother at all until I was 12 years old. And then it was sort of that, Luke, I am your father moment, where she just came and they told me. So then you get into this family of 8 children who have not lived together, 8 strangers, basically. And it was volatile, and it was, people were constantly belligerent. I like to say that I feel like during that time, I should have received combat pay. It was really a struggle, but I managed, and I managed because of humor, because I found humor, but at the same time, my psyche, because I had this break, if you've been living with someone who said they're your mother for 12 years, and then one day another woman shows up, okay, this is your mother, and you live in the ghetto with, 8 other people, between two would expect a nightmare to sort of play out. Yeah, and my mind, what sort of saved me, probably what saved me from becoming like a crackhead and a whore was the fact that I read magazines, and I love to read, and I read books. So and I love people like Irma Bombeck and Carol Burnett. And I love these old time comedians, and so it's what saved me. It's what brought me over in magazines like Vogue and Glamour, because I could see another life. Now, I couldn't see African-American women in this life, but I could see women. And that was enough to help me see, okay, there's better and there's more. And, if you apply yourself and go after it, you can get. And that's why communication is so important to me. And when I created this HIVE model, which stands for honest, insightful, valued engagement. So honest, insightful, valued engagement. I wanted to give people a chance to communicate on a deeper level, because I had such a problem with that as a child, that I was not communicated with well, and I didn't know how to communicate with others. And so it was, they say you teach what you need to learn.
Well, how can I help you today, Bea? It's been fantastic. In addition to getting the word out about your women's meeting in September, how else can I help you? Do you have a website or a YouTube page or what?
I think the easiest is my link tree. It's linktr.ee/B Bauman. So on Linktree, people can find me. They can see my TikTok. They can see, Instagram and everything else that I'm involved in at the moment. And and I really do have this creativity and this will to want to help other women who are like myself, midlife beginners, find their way.
That is very inspirational and hopeful. Thank you so much for being with me. And I'd like to ask you one more question, because this is what I do. I was actually voted, just for your information, as the senior class clown in my high school.
Yeah, I was the class clown too.
All that to say, one last question, because I've also been known to be a wise guy. And my wise guy question is, what was your very first job ever when you were a kid or a teenager? Did you have a job of any kind?
Oh my gosh. Oh, yes. My very first job was I delivered newspapers.
Ah.
I had a paper route. Yeah, I had a paper route. And yeah, I remember for a long time, I think like for 2 years, I had a paper route, and just throwing papers at people's doors or going up. Yeah. That was the beginning of my entrepreneurship.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I had a paper route too. So
Really? Oh, okay.
yeah, we must be cousins. We're probably distantly related cousins, I'm sure. So
exactly. Are you from Indiana?
I'm from Kansas, and Toto. That's somewhere over the rainbow, I guess. That's where I'm from.
Yeah, I'm in another fairy tale. I'm in another.
Well, thank you so much. One of my, I'll just share this real quick before we wrap up here, but one of my bucket list people was to see Les Brown. I got to see Les Brown in San Jose, California a couple years ago. And what was really fun for me was, because I'm an old disc jockey, having worked at radio stations around the country, and come to find out, Les Brown was a disc jockey, I think in Columbus, Ohio or something. And he was one of the first guys to introduce the Jackson 5. So
wow.
I have such a passion for music to go along with my humor. So,
and the Jackson 5 are from Gary, Indiana.
Gary, are you from Gary?
I'm from Indianapolis.
Oh,
I have cousins in Gary.
Awesome. I've driven through Indianapolis many times, going back and forth to school over the years. That's very cool. Awesome. Well, Bea, thank you so much again for being with me. I appreciate it. And we'll be sure to get this all put together and get the word out, and try to get some ladies to commit to coming to hear you and see you speak in just a few weeks in September. So thank you so much, Bea, for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me, Dave. It's been so much fun. And a fresh start. That's what we all crave, I believe. So, and if we can help each other. And so I'm willing. And my book is out there, Girl, You Ain't Crazy, to add more motivation and humor.
Is that on Amazon, or where can people find that?
Oh, yeah, that's on Amazon, and it is in the e-reader. So paperback and e-reader.
Perfect. We will share that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I thought of something else. One of my favorite Paul Simon songs is "Still Crazy After All These Years."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've learned how to live with the voices.
Thank you, Bea. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Have a great one. Bye.